If you want to know how to create your own speedboat in SolidWorks or in other drawing software, then you're at the right place. In this video, I'm going to show you how I created this boat model that I'm actually going to build. And I will show you in this video all the engineering decisions I made, a little bit of the surface, why I came up with these shapes, why I think this is absolutely beautiful. And in this video, you're just gonna see the design ideas that I had. And if we get the video up to 100 likes, I will start making the footage where we actually build this for real. Because I've created this boat 2 times before at a very a smaller measurements, 5 meters. This one is 7 meters. So because I'm a craftsman for already 15 years, and I'm also taking a deep passion for engineering software, but also I am crazy about boating and everything that has to do with water. And yeah, because of where I live, in the area where I live, we have a lot of lakes and water and all that stuff. So let's get into the design. And again, if we can get 100 likes in this video, I will make the footage where we actually start building this absolute beauty, because it's my life's work, and I think it should be for everyone to watch. Let's go, enjoy. Now, the biggest question about this design is, how do you come up with these shapes? Where does it start? What is the origin of it? And to be fair, I just stole this from sailboats from my local area. They have this special sharp nose, as you can see here. And the sharpness of this nose is just having the least amount of resistance whenever your hull touches the point of the water. And if you look at aluminium speedboat design, they almost never have this design. There might be ones who have this design, but they just shape differently, and that is just something I really didn't like. So I really like this shape, and the way I came up with this shape is by basically drawing it out in 2D from the front, from the top, and obviously the other areas like the back and the front end. I didn't make any calculations. This is just from the top of my head. I created this hull design, but it is actually from a smaller design that I already built, which was way smaller. I will show that right now. Now, this is one of my first boats that I built, and obviously this was even older pictures from SolidWorks drawing software that I had at the time, but this is basically the same shape. So let's just move on to the slides quickly. Now, this was a very a 5 meter design, and for a few grand I could get the sheet metal package, but I actually built this, and I know how the boat is kind of acting in a way. So here I got all that sheet stuff and everything, forming this very sharp nose. And to show you how actually super great that nose is, you can see here on pretty rough in water terrain with high winds how absolutely easy it flows through the water, right? It's a little bit low quality, but there's no drama in it. And I just knew this design was really good. This is only with 6 horsepower or something. So if you look at this particular image, you can see how very nicely shaped it sets off the water to the edges. So yeah, and I just knew that now I can scale this up and make this absolutely beautiful masterpiece, which is my life's work. So now this hull shape comes with a particular interesting challenge, because the bottom sheet over here is actually pretty hard to build. You need to have a forming template and different pressing machines to get that nose into that desired shape. And this is also a very important reason why some build manufacturers or people that want to build or create their own aluminium boat not go for this shape, because it's actually pretty hard to twist it into these different angles. But I just took the risk. I did this with the first one, the second one, and now for this design as well. And once you get it ready, you have this absolutely freaking sweet hull shape that has all this really great sailing capabilities. Now, another thing with this design is that if you look at from the back, it's actually really flat. This angle, the shape you see here, this is a pretty flat angle. So what does this do then? Well, you would say on rough terrain, when you're planing hard at high speed, you get a lot of discomfort from this. And also that might, and it's also sticking, you have more surface area connecting to the water, which gives you some resistance. But the absolute best part of this is this creates a very low planing speed. So at low power, I'm already planing really quickly and I get a massive amount of stability from it. So when I put a massive outboard on this boat, because we have the floating pressure from underneath, because we have a pretty flat shape on the back, I could put a massive amount of power on the back without the boat going backwards too much. Yeah, so but then again, it is not really uncomfortable when we are on really high speeds in very rough terrain waters. We have the sharpness really breaking down the waves before we get on this flat spot. Again, the little bit of a disadvantage is the absolute end top speed might be a little bit lower, but yeah. And then again, it's my design, so I get to decide, right? Now, how did I create this and how do I build further? How do you create the windows? How do you create everything? And actually, this whole design is pretty simple. It wasn't that super hard to create this, but the hardest part is where do you fit the chairs? How big the window is gonna be, and all that stuff. And in this next example, I will show you how I created this hull shape, and then after I'm gonna tell how I created the overall design, and then yeah, we'll just move on from there. The bottom plate, 5mm thick of aluminium, I chopped. This is in SolidWorks. I don't have the license anymore, so I promise if I get 1,000 subscribers, I will get a new license for SolidWorks and make a full tutorial of this. Let me know, or shoot me an email. Whatever, maybe we can do business. Who knows? Anyways, I will tell that I came up with like 2D shapes from the side and from the top view. And from there, I created these curves. Later on, I will explain how I created these curves. All these lines are different planes, and these lines are kind of bended in a way. This is important. You need a radius to create this sheet going up. You cannot keep it straight. Maybe you can, but the people that need to form this sheet back to its original form, when it's from 2D, from the laser cutter back to a 3D shape, we need some rounding edges. I learned this from the other two models that I built. So basically every 500mm there is a shape. This is also going to be all the strengthening plates on all the way of the width will be there. So absolutely, we put here like the marks in here as well to understand where we need to put these plates when we're welding everything, right? So, and this is basically a loft function with guide curves and everything. Also, this is what I drawn out from the side. So if you look at from the side, I'm drawing absolutely like approximately this line. This is how I want that line to look. And here you have a little bit of a like a preview of all the different lines I created, and that brought me actually to this final shape. Now in SolidWorks, this is just, I use that project curve. With project curve, you make a 2D sketch and another 2D sketch, and then with project curve, you can connect those two and it will follow a 3D geometry. And then all these lines I connected with relations into it, and then I created a loft, and the loft is actually creating that surface. That surface then you thicken up. So you have here on SolidWorks the, where is it? Bruh, can't find it. Over here you could thicken, then you thicken up that loft, and then you can push it back with the flatten surface function which is, and then you put the flattened surface, and that is actually the file that the cutter needs to have to shape that out. So it doesn't really matter which software you use. I really like the SolidWorks because I just understood it. A lot of people told me you couldn't do it in SolidWorks. I will prove in this video series that you can, and it's absolutely sweet. So let's move on. When you created a hull, you want to find some sort of a person that has basically the same length and shapes as you, and you want to build that into your design. But that is actually pretty hard to do because in this design it's already here, but if there's nothing, it's really hard to figure out where you need to start. So I knew from experience that the area I want to stand with my feet on, so this is you could consider this the main deck, that's this area. I want to have this self draining main deck, so it's above water line, so every time the water will go out of these holes, right? So what I did, and if you want to design your own, if you ever were curious how you should do that, then that line, that plate, I will fill out the hull with that plate only. So you design in a way that you're creating this main deck, right? So the hull is completely empty and you create a main deck. Then you want to bring this person up on that floor and see how high am I actually going to sit. Because I want to sit on my boat and I want to look out the window and actually see where I'm going. Because it's pretty hard to think about if you sit down and you're looking up right into the beam of the window, or you're too low or you're too high, and you actually want to have a steering wheel at the proper position, right? And have the space around your feet. So when I put this guy in here, his name is Knapinga. It's Dutch for a little bit of a joke for a guy, just a random guy. So I want to have my face pointing like this, right? I want to have my head above the main deck and actually want that to fit. Now the funny thing is, for this design, it had to be 7.5 meters long, so like 23, 25 foot in length, because else the boat would not look pretty. By the way, this design is a pretty boat that looks nice and has great sailing capabilities. I don't care anything about comfort. I don't care about a lot of room for like toilets or anything. No, this is just purely for a nice design and great sailing properties. I don't care about comfort. There's too much comfort in this world already. So that's how I came up with it. And then I had to create, what I did, I created these filling up this area. So starting from the main deck. So I'm actually in my living room putting measuring tape on how high the distance of this seat needs to be compared to the floor, because I don't want to sit like with my knees up and all that stuff. And I also had to consider a pillow where we sit on, right? And this all needs to be welded and connected together. So yeah, and that's just how I came up with this design. Then later on, figure out all the stuff you have, like the seats, where this staircase going to be here on the front, so we can actually go on the front deck to like put in the ropes to the shore, whatever. If everything is then complete, then you can start building the beams and the strength and the construction, because you know where it needs to end and needs to land. So a little bit of a detail here for the fuel tank, that's actually here in the middle. And I did a small, like I gave someone the hull design and they said me what the pressure point was. That's the only calculation I actually did. And meaning, if I put pressure on this hull when it's in the water, it needs to level down at the same spot. And it's somewhere around the guy right here. So that's also the positioning of the fuel tank. It's only 120 liters, but I could like make this twice as long, or even like maybe 3 times the length. So we could actually make it like maybe 500 liters at max capacity. But for me, it's like, if then you also need to carry all that fuel with you. And with only 175 or like 200 horsepower, what we can put behind this boat at this design, then yeah, I think that's more than enough. And I always said like 250 liters or 120 liters of petrol. That's like that's enough money for me to fuel up my boat when I go out. So yeah, and then I just created all these shapes between it. So I actually cut the model in half and start drawing out all the geometry where all these plates are, and you get all these round shaped plates. So I will show you that right now, how that approximately looks. So here you can see the plates, and this is basically like the outer shape and the inner shape connected. So on top of this plate we have actually the main deck, right? But we can only figure that out if we completed designed the seatings, the hull and whatever, and then we just need to create the inner construction to make it all fitting, right? So that's what we did. And here you can see the construction. Now if you look at this and you don't really know, like you might think, man, what an absolutely insane construction. And it is, and it's a lot of welding. But when I take out my kids, my family, and I'm attacking the big waves, I want that strong design. And trust me, this looks like a lot, but in aluminium, this is one of the lightest speedboats you will find on the Frisian lakes where I live. And with 175 horsepower, I'm actually a lot quicker than other boats. And I'm also like massively more like lean on fuel usage too. So because of the hull design. Okay, let's move on. Now at the end, when I start drawing everything out, let's talk about the outboard. So you got these measurements for outboards, and the back plate over here. I will show now with this all this construction that is actually here, that we have a lot of additional strengthening and metal to connect the bolts of the engine. So there's a lot of construction here to... I just don't want to lose my outboard, so it's really strong. And again, I didn't really make any calculations for it, but yeah, I knew from the other boat projects that the guys that put the engine on the back, it's actually the servers they provide, they said, I asked them, hey man, do you think my back end of the boat is strong enough for big outboards? And it's like, we never ever seen such a strong back end of a speedboat before. So that really gave me some confidence that we can carry that design over to this boat as well. Now here you can see all this sheet metal working. So this is actually what you see when you don't have the hull on the outside. Here you can see the fuel tank. The position of the fuel tank is actually really great because it's on the lower end. It's good for stability. It doesn't get you anywhere, like it doesn't take up space anywhere. And here on the front, we have the level meter and the hose and the filling. And here on the back, we have on the bottom, I don't know if you can see it, yeah, right here. This will be a drainage if you carry on water, or like the absolute garbage in the fuel will be on the lower side of this beam, and then on the top this will be our main suction for the fuel. And this is actually, because the tank is pretty flat, we have a little bit of the that the petrol is going sideways and the engine might miss, or the hose might miss like a, how do you call it, like a supply of fuel to the hose. That's actually, now it's because it's a little bit lower, we can actually get always fuel supply to the engine. So yeah, obviously it's full of these holes. These holes make sure that if there ever was water in the boat, it will always find the bottom place in the boat. So every time you have a water leakage or there's some water going in your hull, it's always finding the bottom point right here. And here we connect like a small bilge pump where we can get rid of all the water. Now on the front inside, this is pretty much enough space for two persons who are like could be intimate or like forced to be intimate to sleep. So I always say to people like, is it made for sleeping and weekends? Meh, not really. It's really a day boat. But if you're getting completely shit-faced at the bar and you're there with the boat, you have the option to crawl inside of the nose and sleep it over, sleep a night before you go onto the water again. That's basically a little bit of the idea. and that's great for like a storage, but it's absolutely a very small area. Here on the front, you cannot really sit here or do anything. You can just lie down here and that's all. So also people have said to me, yeah, if you really want to make business out of it, there needs to be a toilet. Well, you can get a bucket, right? If you're that desperate, you can get a bucket and you will do your, yeah, whatever, nobody cares. So, maximum 200 horsepower. The bottom hull plates are 5 millimeters and the rest of it is 4 millimeters. So if we can get this video up to 100 likes, I'll start building the video that we're going to build. So I already have all the images and all the footage on how we made the build, and we got the plates and the sheet metal and everything. So let's hit that like goal, and when that video is finished, it will be up here. Thanks for watching.